Welcome to Hand Forged, the podcast where blue-collar grit meets modern insight. We celebrate the stories of tradespeople and bridge traditional craftsmanship with today's evolving business world. Each episode brings you real stories, practical advice, and insights from skilled professionals and entrepreneurs to help you elevate your work, overcome challenges, and grow. So grab your tools and get ready to be inspired. This is Hand Forged.
Welcome to another episode of Hand Forged. We're here today with Josh DeVos, who is a merchant marine. Josh had signed up to come on the podcast. It was probably a couple months ago at this point.
Yeah, it was.
And then he had to go to work, and we couldn't get him on. We rescheduled for today. Super excited about having him on. I always knew what merchant marines were, but I never really thought about like what they do, how they do it. I didn't know if it was military or if it was civilian. Like I had no idea. And I had to literally did a bunch of research this morning, reading a bunch of stuff. So I didn't sound like a complete idiot, you know? But welcome, man. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah. Awesome. Excited.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Should be good.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell everybody just who you are and kind of what you do and, a little blurb on the, on the Marines.
Yeah, exactly. So like Frank said, Josh DeVos, went to Maine Maritime, got out in 2010 and joined the Merchant Marines. So some people don't even know what a Merchant Marine is, but I wrote down what a Merchant Marine is so I wouldn't butcher it.
Just bring the mic with you.
Yeah. So Merchant Marine refers to people that are trained and certified to work on vessels that carry goods and services on the navigable waters of the U.S. and the world. So any tug, ferry, container ship, any type of ship that you see out there in the world, those are crewed and operated by merchant marines. So a lot of seagoing. Most of the world's trade is actually done by sea. So we are the people that get things where they need to go and when they need to be there.
Yeah, so when you're ordering shit on Amazon and it's coming from these different places, like these boys are the ones that are kind of shipping it around, which is super fascinating, man. So let's start a little bit. How the hell did you get into it?
Yep. So going back to high school, even if I had no idea what I wanted to do out of high school. I didn't know if I was going to, join the Navy, do the military route, go to college, engineering, and two kids that I grew up with, one of their dads went to Maine Maritime back in the 70s, and he was going there. Another one of my friends was going there, and I remember sitting in my car one day, and they were like, "Hey, man, you should apply." And I was like, why not? I don't know what the hell I want to do, so I might as well try it. And so 2006, went up to Castine, Maine. Had a wild time there. It was definitely an experience, and it's not you get a 4-year degree, but it's not your typical college experience. So, and what that school gears you up for is, joining the Merchant Marine. You after 4 years, you'll have your license to either work on the deck side or engine side. I chose engine side, and you'll have to wear a uniform and march around a little bit. And I remember, freshman year of college, most of my friends were, out partying or whatever. And freshman year, at least when I was there, you spend a lot of time, ironing your uniform. They had this silly thing, this book called The Maine Brace. It was like this list of rules and what Maine Maritime does. And if we were bad, we had to sit there and rewrite it, So there's a regimental component to it, but it does get easier as you go through the school. And 2 of the summers you spend on the training ship. So 2000, it would have been 2007. We all packed onto the training ship, all 225 of us, students and teachers, and we left Castine, Maine, went to Gibraltar, a couple stops in the Med, Sicily, came back to St. John, and then you spend 60. Well, at the time it was 60 days at sea, and that's part of your training, because you got to get, in order to get your license, you got to have sea time, So 2 summers you spend 60 days on the training ship, and then the sophomore year, I actually it's like a co-op, they call it cadet shipping. So they send the students out to actually work on a real ship, So cool. My sophomore year, I was out in Seattle in Alaska working on a fish processor. So that was pretty interesting. Way. Yeah, and that was right when Deadliest Catch was really cool. So I played a lot of Bon Jovi, nice. Going out there, and so it's like I said, it's a great experience. And in 2010, I graduated, and part of the appeal of that school and choosing to do that kind of track is that the job placement, pretty much you're guaranteed to have a job.
Right.
21, 22, graduating school, you got a degree, you got a license, and you're going to have a really well-paying job, right out the gate. So
right. So what is school like? So you said freshman year is a lot of silly shit.
Yeah,
right?
So
is it like classroom stuff?
Yeah, it's classroom. Yeah, but you'll go early. I think some mid-August, something like that, and they called it at the time it was regimental preparatory training. So they do this little mini Hell Week where I say Hell Week, that's an embarrassment to Hell Week, but yeah, they march you around, and you gotta you yell and scream. They yell and scream at you. You gotta it's just getting you ready for that regimental component of the school, and because you're graduating with the Coast Guard license, so you graduate with a third mate or third engineer's license, and what the Coast Guard requires is that people that are doing that licensed track requires that you be in some form of regimental or some form of regiment. So, schools do it differently. There's 5 state maritime schools, Maine, Mass, New York, California, and Texas. And then there's a kind of like the Naval Academy, like a federal one in Kings Point, New York. So, and they all kind of do take that requirement and kind of do their own thing with it. So Maine Maritime was, for me, was actually a good fit because half the school, it's just a regular college for them. So half of it's in the regiment, half it's there's business, there's small vessel operations or whatever. So people that don't necessarily want to get their unlimited license or whatever, they can work on a little bit smaller vessels. And there's in the state of Maine, there's a lot of power plants, paper plants like that. So they have a power engineering degree. So you get your I don't know what the license is to work in a power plant. So so freshman year, you're with I think they divided us up into regiments: Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, and Delta or whatever. So I was Delta Company, and we're in our section of the dorms, and you're not allowed to have a TV and stuff like that. I think we had laptop. I'm sure they have laptops now because laptops were just kind of becoming a thing at the time. They kind of march. You have different things you got to do. Your freshman year, you wear a slightly different uniform. It's like a condensed military operation. But looking back on it, it's really soft. Anyone can do it. Don't be afraid Don't be afraid, especially now. They've kind of changed with the times and everything. Guys that went there in the 70s, they tell you that it was way harder and all, and then even now, when I went there in 2006, I'll tell you it's way harder when I went there. But it's a great experience, and you're going to be doing stuff that most people that go to college don't normally do. So
right, and the travel, man. I think that's big because my youngest son is trying to get his scholarship to go and play lacrosse for college and stuff. And with or without a degree, that kid's going to be successful. He's just a gritty little bastard.
Yeah,
smart.
Yeah,
just knows what he's doing.
Sounds good. That's promising.
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, he is, man. And it's he always talks well, what am I gonna? He doesn't know what the fuck he wants to do. And I'm it doesn't really matter right now.
Yeah.
If you do end up going to college, take a business degree, do something like that, because that's you can do anything with that, and getting that education is important. But like, he wants to travel and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, I was looking at all the merchant marine stuff. I'm like, man, like this is kind of cool because like you get the education, you can travel, and then the schedule is awesome.
Yeah.
Like, 6 weeks on, 6 weeks off. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe not ideal for a lot of people, but like if you were gonna have like a little side gig, like because I know a lot of firefighters and police officers who have like their electrical license or like a plumbing license, and when they're on their days off, they just do trade stuff to make extra money, and like that 6 weeks on, 6 weeks off is just, I think that's awesome.
And honestly, we lose a lot of mariners to that exact career path.
I'm sure.
I can tell you, out of the people I graduated with, I can count probably on one hand that still sail, but every other one of them has gone on to start their own thing, whether it's, guys get into HVAC, guys get into excavation, electrical, anything that, you're exposed to, especially from an engineering standpoint, you're exposed to so many trades, really.
Right.
We do plumbing, we do HVAC, we do electrical, welding and fabrication. It's all done out there on the boat.
Right.
And it's kind of funny because when I come home, nobody knows me from Adam.
Right.
And it's like I typically do a lot of the stuff that most people are already doing. Just in a slightly different environment.
Right.
So and it's a great way for people 6 weeks at a time. The work is going to be there. You're going to get paid no matter. You just got to show up, really.
Yeah.
We can get into like being a good person or a bad person or whatever, but whether you're a piece of shit or a good worker, you're going to get paid.
Right. Those people are everywhere.
Yeah. And you can really, like you said, 21, 22, you can start sacking, if you're serious about it, you can start, sacking away some money or buying equipment, building out your van, buying whatever it is. And if you kind of always had that in mind, a lot of people do it.
Yeah.
It
seems like a good way, a good little avenue to take.
Yeah.
So, all right. So freshman, sophomore year, and then junior, senior year.
Yeah.
So you said that you guys ended up, you were in Alaska and somewhere else?
Yeah. My sophomore year, I was in I joined the vessel in Seattle, and I don't think that ship's around anymore. It was old when I got there. But what that ship did was it went out to sea, and they had like 7 or 8 trawlers. So these big, I don't know, they were probably 100, 120 foot. Like they were the boats that actually fished. They basically dragged this massive net, and then they'd fill this massive net with cod or whatever they were fishing for that season. And this ship, it was called the Ocean Phoenix, and that thing was basically like a mothership. It would kind of hover around wherever those 7 or 8 vessels are, and then when they filled their bag, they'd transfer the bag over to that big ship. There's this big ramp on the stern, and they'd drag that big bag of fish, dump it, and then
back to fishing.
Yeah. They actually processed and froze the fish on board. So, it was basically a floating factory, and I think more now those fishing vessels, I think the kind of the newer approach to it is they're a little bit smaller, and I think they still process and freeze on board, but they're just done in a little bit of a smaller. But my purpose there, right? So, and where the merchant marine component comes into that is that vessel that I was on. I don't know, it was 600 or 700 feet or whatever. It was an old steamship, and its power, it's got, I forget how much the horsepower was, but when you are a commercial vessel and you're above a certain amount of horsepower, you got to have certain licenses to make that ship operate. So as a cadet, I was, running around. It's a big, it was a steam plant,
Right.
So that was manned continuously and operating 24/7, So they would have they got to watch every ship will have a watch shift, because they don't stop ever. And so as an engineer on there, you could either be the watchstander, so you're tending to the engine room and doing everything that that's required to keep the engine moving and all the auxiliaries as well. Like for instance, this factory processor they used a shit ton of water, right? Because they're always washing down there was a continuous cascade of water throughout all the equipment. So they had all kinds of water making on there. So there's all types of, they call them like flash type evaporators. They basically take in seawater and they heat it and condense the steam, and they condense the fresh water out of the steam, and then that goes off to wherever it needs to go. So
reverse osmosis.
there's reverse osmosis now, but yeah, you got some research down. I see that. Yeah,
Smart water, bro.
yeah. But reverse osmosis typically doesn't have the capacity that flash type evaporators have, and
I just wanted to sound smart.
yeah,
for a second,
it was.
so
It
it's
is.
It's a big word for me.
Yeah, and I remember they also did this thing. So they had these machines that would, I don't know, cut up like whatever their fish were. They'd take the head, gut, and tail, right? The pieces that they don't typically use, and it would go down this pipeline to the fish meal plant, and they would chop up the head, gut, and tail, and they would go through this big dryer. And you talk about like the odor from that place,
imagine.
it was those guys, you could smell them from a mile away. I remember a couple times you had to go in there and the big dryer or whatever, stuff would break off in there or whatever. So you go in there and fix them or whatever. But it's a lot of guys, that's not the only, experience they might have. So that's fishing was big out on the West Coast. A lot of guys go down to the Gulf. And in the Gulf, there's a lot of oil and gas, and all sorts of offshore supply vessels that are basically hired by oil companies and rigs to help support whatever operation the drilling rigs need. They need all kinds of people and supplies
Tools
all the
and
time.
that type
Big
of
time,
stuff, I
big
can
time.
imagine.
Yeah. Container ships. Guys, a great way to see the world is container ships. They'll go like I said, all over the world. So a lot of guys did that, went all around Europe and stuff like that for the summer. And then there's tankers, So typically what I do is tankers. So that's like, I'm on a bread run, they call it basically. So we load right in America's backyard down there in the Gulf. Load in Louisiana, discharge in Florida, and we just go back and forth for 6 weeks at a time. So
interesting. And your job is, so you said there's deck side and there's engine side.
Yep.
So your job is engine side.
Yep.
So you're the guy that's just fixing anything that breaks pretty much. And it doesn't, so you said with the fishing vessel, you were fixing like the big dryer for the fish. So it's not just operations as far as making sure that the boat is running, but you guys are making sure that anything that's on that boat is also operating?
Yeah, pretty much. So good way to describe what I do or what engineers do is we are there to basically ensure that the boat gets from A to B, and when it gets to either A or B, it can do its job, know. And the deck side, they're in charge of obviously the navigation component, driving the vessel, making sure it safely gets from A to B. They're in charge of ensuring that the cargo goes off and on in whatever way it's supposed to, whether it's customer demands or industry demands or whatever. Engineers, anything that, every commercial vessel has a purpose, right? Every vessel really has a purpose. So, and whatever that purpose is, engineers are there to ensure that it can do that when it's supposed to, and how fast it's supposed to, and all that. So it all depends on, what type of vessel you're on.
So now that's the engineer side. What about like deck side? What are
Deck
those guys doing?
side, so they'll do the navigation. There's all, especially as third mates, they're in charge of a lot of safety equipment. So there's all kinds of firefighting, lifeboats, depending on, again, there might be different safety equipment on board depending on what type of vessel it is. But then when the vessel shows up to the dock, they tie it up, and they, like for me, as on a tanker aspect of it, they communicate with the dock, as far as what cargo is going where and how the sequence of events, how that's going to go off, or how it's going to come on, and ensuring that when we pump our cargo ashore, that it goes ashore safely. You can't have a oil spill. Nobody wants an oil spill or anything like that. So and then when it's all done, they get the vessel off the dock and get it going the other way and load and on they go.
So these big vessels, like these big rigs, do they have to have merchant marines on board?
Yeah, so it goes back to that horsepower component or size component, right? For engineering side, any vessel over 4,000 horsepower, I think it is, you have to have an unlimited engineer's license for that thing to operate. And then same thing with, I think there might be, for the deck side, there might be like a near coastal or any ocean, and then also a size component as well. So when these vessels exceed those, those regulations or whatever, you got to have a certain license the vessel has to be crewed by people with a certain license in order to operate.
And that's federally mandated?
Yep, Coast Guard. So it's all done through the Coast Guard. They call it the NM. So like if you were to want to join the Merchant Marine, you would go. If you weren't going to join a union or anything like that, you could go on the. There's also if you weren't going to go the union route, there is training schools. A lot of them down in Florida. There's a few here in Massachusetts. Maine Maritime also has a training component to it as well. But you can go there and they can help you get that process started, but there's certain, things you got to fill out, qualifications you got to pass prior to actually getting your any ticket to go out to sea. So you'd start as an unlicensed person. Like if you weren't going to go the college route or whatever, you can join the Merchant Marine just as a regular person. You just got to fill out a couple pieces of paperwork on that. They call it the National Maritime Center, the NMC website, and you pass a physical. They do a background check, stuff like that. You get a TWIC card, which allows you to get access into the port. And then once you pass those qualifications and they process your application, you'll get they call it like a OS, like an ordinary seaman or whatever, and you can pretty much join the vessel and you're at the bottom. So you're you sweep, mop, clean, assist the deck or deck or engine, depending on kind of how you're allocated.
Bitch.
Yeah, pretty much. You start at the bottom and then you gain seat time. You'll do testing or whatever, and you can either work your way up on the engine side or work your way up on the deck side.
So it's set up like the military, where you kind of work your way up through like ranks.
Yeah.
Do they call them ranks?
Yeah. It's rank. Yeah. So I sign on. I sign on as chief engineer. There's a first engineer, second, third. So those are all licensed, right? Like when I got out of school, you can either graduate with your third mate or a third engineer, and you're starting at the bottom of like the officer side, right? Like the license side, right? And then if you were to be just like enlisted right off the street, you start off as like a OS, and then you can work your way up. There's like, as you get seat time and as you do different, you can take tests and do different qualifications to kind of upgrade your seaman's ticket basically. And once you'll get paid more as a OS. You can move up to AB, which is like the deck side, which is able-bodied seaman. So they're like the workers of the deck, and then you get up to like bosun, which would be, he's like the leader of like the workers of the deck, like crew chief, essentially like that, for the unlicensed side. And then really to go from like, you either go from AB Unlimited or bosun up to, you would have to pass a bunch of tests that are all administered by the Coast Guard to get your third mate license. So
you would have to. So if you didn't go to the maritime school, you can start off as that seaman, work your way up.
OS,
But in order to really take that big step, you do have to get certified, and have all the time and all that type of stuff. So it's a longer road. It sounds like
it's a longer road. So Maine Merit or the college route is like 4 years. Pretty much, you can add 4 years, and when you join the school, and you'll have your ticket. Pretty much, you'll have your license. But yeah, they call it hose piping or whatever. Hose piping, yeah, it's a lot. It's the days. You gotta accrue a lot of sea days, and the way the maritime schools get away in like a training environment, like the sea day, there's like multipliers and stuff like that. So
Gotcha.
like 60 days was really worth like time and a half or double time, because I was in like a training environment, you know,
Instead of just coming in off the street.
So I'd say, yeah, the schools are a little bit more conventional, but everyone, the hose piping way is still an option, and there's a lot of great, if you weren't to join a union, there's a lot of great schools like, I think it's called MPTs, like Maritime Preparatory Training down in South Florida, that will get you geared up through, and they'll get you started with all the classes and kind of help you navigate. And that's kind of one of the challenges the industry is facing, is just how difficult it is for, like, we're talking, and I've been doing this 14 years, and I don't know what I butchered as far as the whole process.
Right.
It's not. It's like it's worse than the DMV. That the NMC could use a little bit of streamlining as far as what it takes. And especially for an industry that's so hungry for. There's a lot of old people, and or when I say old, I say not old, but people that are ready to retire. Not a lot of people my age, and not a lot of people coming in. So I'm hoping that, through a little bit of this podcast or whatever it takes, to kind of generate some interest in the career and show some of the benefits that it might have. And, whether you use it like a lot of guys that I've went to school with, where they have, sailed for a little while and used it to make money and build their business on the side. And then I think they'll reach a point. I think everyone reaches a point where they've had enough of the merchant marine, and they've set themselves up ashore where they can kind of do what it is they want to do for the next phase of their life. So
Yeah, it makes sense.
yeah.
So for you, are you a lifer?
I don't know. I ask myself that every day, and honestly, it goes back to Maine Maritime. When I joined, when I went to Maine Maritime in 2006, I said, you know what? This isn't so bad. Like, I kind of like it. I don't know what else I would be doing, so I might as well keep doing it. I graduated. I actually met my wife at Maine Maritime. So she's into the lifestyle, or is aware of the lifestyle. Obviously, at this time, we got 2 young kids that are 6 and 4. So by choice or by not, we're all kind of indoctrinated in the lifestyle, And if you can make it work, it's a challenge. But
Does she in it too, or
she did that smaller degree. So she got her it was like a 500-ton mate's license at the time. So she ended up working on a yacht, actually.
Nice.
When we were that was right around like the Below Deck time as well too. But it wasn't anything like that. Below Deck was a complete TV show, or is a complete TV show. She worked for an older couple down in South Florida. So did that for about a year, and then started working ashore. Because it's a small boat. So it presents its own challenges. Living and working in any environment. With a fixed amount of people. So
yeah.
But I'm kind of hoping that, as I go through here and kind of where my job is at right now, there's some promising things, about, or I'm hopeful that, there's some promising things that will come about to help, get the industry manned back where it should be. And the whole, the industry, I don't want to say the industry's been dying, but I don't know if it's had the awareness it's needed, over a long period of time, So I'm kind of hoping that we can kind of get the people back where they need to be, and show people that, you can do this job, and it doesn't have to be miserable, because
Right.
One of your guests was talking about, it was the plumber. I can't remember his name, but
Leon.
Yeah, he was talking about how he worked for some asshole or something way back, his first job, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're out there, you know, and we all have our experiences for that. And it's like, I'm hoping that I can, you know, show people that it doesn't have to be that way, and you can come out and you can do this job. You can have a, you know, a good time, and, you know, try to keep your mindset where it needs to be.
Yeah.
And in order to make this job work for you.
Yeah.
You know,
and see some shit and have a fucking good experience.
Yeah.
And
honestly, because it's there.
Right.
You know, the experiences are there. The learning is there. All the shit we wanted to do as a kid. I mean, like, you're given, you know, an incredible amount of leeway and tools to operate this vessel that, like, nobody would really ever get to operate. And the company trusts you that it's in, you know, their best interests or in your best interests, you know? So, like, if I need something and, you know, I need I need help, or I can allocate anybody I need to get the job done. And if I need help from contractors ashore or equipment ashore, you know, it's like you can basically GC your own operation, right? You know, every day. And that's what I like about it. You know, it's you talk about like blue collar jobs, and, you know, it's tangible, right? You see things that, you know, something's broken or messed up, and you know what it takes to fix it. You have the resources. If you don't have them on board, you can get them from ashore and, you know, fix it and make the operation go on.
It's gratifying.
Yeah,
you know,
there's
and
gratification to that.
That's the biggest thing, I think, with the trades, is that instant gratification. You get to see, like you were saying, you get those tangible objects. You get to see what's done at the end of the day. You get to see the project when it's done at the end. You know, and that's gratifying, and that's what keeps people in the trades.
Yeah.
You know, so I think with what you do, like, having that gratification of, like, taking this old steamboat and making sure it gets to where it's got to go safely, and that everybody's getting the product that they need, and, you know, there's gratification in that, man. And you can take pride in something like that. And that's, you know, again, and that's one of the reasons that we started the podcast, is that, like, taking pride in something is fucking important. And not a lot of people do it. You know, and, like, why would you spend your day just going through the motions, or spend your life just going through the motions? Instead of doing something you can be fucking proud of. You know?
I always think about what you said, you know, like, if I was going to clean toilets, I'm going to fucking clean toilets.
You
you
eat
know?
off that motherfucker for sure.
So, I mean, how can we get people to kind of apply that? I don't know if that comes from the, you know, your entrepreneur aspect, or, you know, how do you get people to kind of see whatever job it is, you know, from that aspect, you know?
I just want to be fucking happy.
Yeah,
you know
and you can, you know, it's possible.
Right,
you
and
know?
that's the thing, is, like, if you're not taking pride in what you're doing and you're just there going through the motions, you're not a happy human. You know what I mean? Like, I've spent a lot of my life being fucking miserable. Like, I don't want to be miserable. I want to take pride in what I'm doing. I want to be happy with what I'm doing. You know, and it's just, that's all it takes. And it doesn't matter what it is. Just be fucking good at it. And you'll be happier as a person. You know?
Right.
So take me through, like, your day to day.
So my day. So right now I work on a vessel that transports gas and diesel. So the stuff that you see at the pump, between a refinery in Louisiana and different ports in Florida. So typically Tampa or Port Everglades. So what's unique about Florida is that most of it's gas for airports, cruise ships, all the tourists, that comes by sea. So Florida doesn't have any pipelines. So they rely on the different ports for most of their oil and gas. And it gets from the refinery in Louisiana to either Tampa, Fort Lauderdale, Cape Canaveral, Jacksonville. Those are the big oil terminals. And from there, it gets loaded on a truck and off to whatever gas station. So my job is basically ensuring that the vessel can load when it's supposed to, and can discharge when it's supposed to, and can get from both ports in a timely manner and in the way it's supposed to. So,
what's the, like, biggest nightmare? Like, what was the hardest day that you had?
There's challenges out there, and kind of, you know, it's a little bit of a microcosm of kind of what probably everyone else faces on a day. You know, in a trade, right? Your Monday through Friday, your work might be kind of or I don't want to say Monday through Friday, but your work you at least have some time to go home, you know, versus when you're merchant marine, right? And you're in, you know, the work might be challenging or people might be challenging. So you got to kind of put it on yourself to, you know, fight back a little bit. And, you know, we never really experience, like, if there's a hurricane, so hurricane season, right, is the summer and into fall. And we don't play with hurricanes. And if you do, you're just tempting fate or whatever. So if we can't stay in the port, we'll go way around. There's all sorts of challenges out there. And, you know, a piece of equipment might be, where I get the gratification from, or where is after the fact, right? So piece of equipment might be challenging you, or like a lot of times with like electrical stuff, you're trying to troubleshoot something that's inside of a control cabinet or something like that, or a system, some sort of automation system, and it's not doing what you want. And, you know, you're trying this and you're trying that, and you're getting beat back. You know, I kind of look at it as like a battle between me and the boat, right? Like the boat's winning, you know, but it's up to you. It's up to your kind of your own resolve to stay with it. And, you know, I don't want to say 10 times out of 10, but a lot of times out of 10, you know, there is an end. You know, there is a way we'll get out of this. You know, and a lot of times it's just it's you know, mechanical stuff like that, where it's like you're getting beat down. You know, the vessel's not going to be able to do what it needs to do. Everyone's waiting on you for an answer, right? Like, hey, can we go? Will this engine start? Will this piece of equipment do what it needs to do in order we can get, you know, the cargo off, or something to function in order for us to dock or whatever like that. So there's been times, you know, it's challenging, but I always tell myself, like, you know, there will be a recovery. You know, there will be this.
Right.
This will work one way or another. You know, and when you come out of it, you say, you know, that's where you get the gratification. You know. But yeah, there's a lot of, and like I said, it could be people, it can be equipment, it can be people and equipment, you know. But there's always light at the end of the tunnel. It just sometimes it's harder to see, you know.
Yeah. Well, at least if you're at sea, you can just toss the people overboard.
Yeah, that's believe me, there's sea stories, and yeah, we have no shortage of drama and stories out there.
I'm sure.
You know,
I'm sure. So what about best part of the job, man? Like, what's your favorite part of it?
So there's kind of what I've been looking at recently is, and I start like waking up early, like maybe 4 or 5 or something like that, and it's like probably the quietest time throughout the whole day on board. You know, the sun's coming up. I got a little French press in my room, make coffee, you know, and it's like I can sit and yeah, that's what I mean. You got to have the creature comforts, you know. You got to find those little things that make you that can allow you to dig deep, you know, when you need to, you know, and. I sit there and, you know, maybe look at some emails or whatever look at the computer, maybe look outside, watch the sun come up, you know, and then you can kind of hit the day running, you know. And where I work at right now is with a lot of great people. And, you know, I appreciate everyone's effort that they do every day to kind of, what I think I like most about it is that you can turn a boat around, or you can get a vessel to work the way you want, you know, with just a little bit of effort every day, you know. And if you can stay consistent at it, and you can, you know, work when it's time to work, take a little bit of rest when there's time to allow, and you always leave a little bit in the tank for when the boat starts to fight back, you know, and you need to beat it back, you know, because it's gonna come. Those things they run continuously, you know. Nobody's making money when shit's not working, and they pay people like us to make it work, you know? And I think that's where I think it's the rewarding part is the gratification. You know, you find little pockets throughout the day, hopefully multiple times a week if you can, you know, where it's like, you know what, this isn't like you walk out in the morning, the dew's coming off the vessel, you know, the sun's coming up, you get the salt there. It's a little bit invigorating.
Nice cup of coffee from the French press.
Yeah, I got the French press. I
got me sold, man. I'm gonna come fucking.
It's you gotta have little things, and whether it means something to somebody or nothing to anybody, because there's a lot of misery out there.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take a whole lot of misery to infect a boat or infect any workplace, really.
Yeah. Yeah, appreciating those small moments and those like small little victories, is so fucking important. Again, just in being a happy human.
Yeah.
Like I'm the same way. I get up 4 or 5 o'clock every morning, and that's my quiet time. I have my cup of coffee. I open the blinds on the window, and I just sit in my recliner. I have my coffee, and just try to be fucking present and appreciative for a little bit before my day starts.
Take a little breath. Take a good breath of air, fresh air.
Right. Because, every day comes with some kind of new something.
Some calamity. It's out there. It's coming.
It's going to be a great day or it's going to be a suck day.
Yeah.
Like, at least I like have my cup of coffee, kind of watch the world wake up and appreciate it for a little bit before I go in the suck.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it has the capability, but it's like, I'm just hoping that we can get some people out there and, the company that we're working for now, they're saying all the right things and trying to, get the boat where it needs to be and put the money where it needs to, doing their part to invest in us and, at the end of the day, make their boat run, so they can make whatever money it is they want to make. It's a hell of a lot more than we make, but I mean, if we can make some money along the side, that's why we're all there.
Do you run up against that where like companies don't want to shell out the money to do what needs to be done?
There's examples of it
going?
Big time, especially the merchant marine. I mean, it's a incredibly. I mean, it goes back to the dawn of time. Whether you want to, the Vikings leaving Norway to take over Ireland, it goes back forever. You know, people have been seafaring forever. Yeah.
That's cool to have a part of that history too.
It's weird. It's weird because some of the things that disturb us now might not have disturbed somebody back in 1800. But it's ship owners. There can be bad ship owners out there, and at the end of the, there's all kinds of books. Like you read about any maritime disaster, right? It's typically a mismanaged vessel. They were trying to make it work for longer than it needed to be by putting minimal amount of money in to repair it, and mariners. At our heart, right? We're there that's our livelihood, right? That's that thing is that floating hull is the only difference between us and the bottom of the ocean, So we're going to keep that fucker afloat no matter what.
That's a good point.
And at some point, what do they say? Time is undefeated or whatever, mother,
right.
So, I mean, eventually you can only keep a ship together with so much bubble gum and super glue,
for sure.
And, when they do the NTSB, when there is a disaster or an accident, is in charge of drilling down into finding out, why this vessel was lost or why this person was injured or why these people were killed. And a lot of times some of it comes back to, how the vessel was managed, if an owner was negligible, a vessel owner was negligible and, putting people on board that were complacent with that, and, not doing things that that are needed to have that vessel operate safely. So there are bad owners out there. Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure there's, well, I'm sure it's a balance for everyone, right? Like obviously the owner doesn't want to shell out every dime to fix everything that needs to be fixed. Mm-hmm. So they're going to do kind of the bare minimum, and then it's up to you guys to make sure that you're taking that bare minimum and making it as effective as possible. I'm sure. I mean, I feel like that's anywhere you go.
Yeah,
right?
and and that's where the regulations come in. The Coast Guard. There's all sorts of regulatory bodies that are in place due to disasters like that. And it's funny. My brother's in cybersecurity, right? So. I mean, the internet as it is now has only been around for maybe 10 years, something like that, So there's no textbooks or there's no if he needs to find something technical about, he goes on like Twitter or Reddit or something like that, you know? Like I said, Merchant Marine's been around forever. I can go find a book on, I mean, it was one of the required books that we bought, like American Merchant Seaman's Manual. I never opened the thing, but I mean, it's been, I don't know what like publications it's on, but it's been written forever, you know? And there's all sorts of seafarings. And so, you know, the regulation stuff is good from a safety, you know, there is some things that are good about it, but a lot of times you get like over-regulated or whatever. So it's a balance,
like
you know?
Anything else.
Yeah. It's there, ultimately, at the end of the day, it's there to protect us, you know? So there is a good component of it, but sometimes you get lost in the details of it, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, shit, man.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool. So how far, I know that you said that you're just kind of Louisiana to Florida,
Yep.
but there's other merchant marines that are just all over the place?
All over the place. So, you know, U.S. flag, right? So there's all kinds of ships all over the world. So the ones that are flying the U.S. flag, and this is part of this, comes into the whole like Jones Act component of it. I don't know if you got into the Jones Act during your research or whatever, but the Jones Act was written in, I think, like 1920 or something like that. So basically that law was that ships that are trading between U.S. ports have to be American flagged. They got to be built in the U.S. They got to be crewed by at least 75% U.S. citizens. So, and there's probably a couple other components. Those are the three big ones. And what that does is help ensure, it goes, you know, protecting our needs domestically, you know, ensuring that there's a U.S. workforce working in and around these ports, you know, and like I said, the Jones Act flag vessels has really gone down over time. So there's not a whole lot of U.S. flag ships that are trading globally. There's obviously more that are like me, kind of trading in between ports in the U.S., like all throughout the Gulf, the West Coast, like Alaska, down to like L.A., Long Beach, that area. And why you don't really see so much here is because a lot of our gas will come from like St. John, Newfoundland, and they can do one stop in Boston or Portland or wherever it is. Providence, I think there's some stops there or whatever. But then they can, like car carriers and stuff, they can come do one stop and then they can leave and they won't violate that Jones Act. But there are, merchant marines, they're all over the world. The ones that we're concerned most about, right, are the people that are you know, American citizens, right? Because you can go to any port in the world and you'll see ships from all over the world crewed by all different types of nationalities or whatever. And and then I work with some guys that they would do like a run from the Gulf. There's a couple stops in the Gulf, and they go over to the Middle East, you know, do a couple stops over there, come back, and it's pretty much just like a, you know, there's all sorts of trade routes. You ever get on the website Marine Traffic? You can see, it's basically like a FAA website where you can see like all the, you know, you see like all the planes.
Yeah.
It's basically like that, but for ships, and you can see kind of all the trade routes throughout, or where all these ships are operating throughout the world. And you know, there are a few U.S. container ships that go, anywhere. China, you know, India.
What about
Middle
security on those ships?
So that's obviously a big deal right now, especially, I don't know if you heard about like the Red Sea and stuff like that going on there with the drone strikes and all that. And actually, just a couple weeks ago, so U.S., we kind of look out for our own, right? We can't look out for everybody. The Navy has a presence there in the Red Sea, and I believe they had two. There were the Arleigh Burke destroyers that were built up in Bath. It's like the only thing in the Navy that still works, you know. Bath built is best built, they always say, right? And these things took down, or they shot down drones, or I don't know if they were getting a missile strike at them or something like that. But they'll have like a Navy escort, you know, in like a an area like that where there's known issues, you know. So typically these, and then they travel in packs, right? So this goes, and it goes back to, I mean, there's examples all throughout history. You know, big thing was World War II, right? I think the only people that were killed more than merchant marines in World War II were the Marines, right? Because we were in charge of getting pretty much everything that was built in the U.S. over to Europe, you know, and the U-boats. There's books about it. They fucked us up, and they got as far down, I believe, as to Jacksonville.
Huh.
And one of these books I was reading was talking about there was a ship explosion due to a U-boat attack off Jacksonville, and it was so close to shore. People were ashore, right, looking out at the sea. They thought it was fireworks.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. So that's one of the big things. Like people say, the Merchant Marines kind of like the fifth arm of defense, you know, and it's like it's a little bit military, but doesn't quite get the recognition or the benefits that like somebody in the military might have.
Right.
But obviously played a big role in, you know, at the end of the day, right? The USA, America is a big island, you know.
Yeah.
A lot of our stuff comes from the world, you know, and it comes by sea, you know.
So if it's coming from another place to here, they're not going to have merchant marines on board, right?
Oh, yeah, they will.
They will. But they'll be from whatever country they're from.
Yeah, China, India, Russia, Japan, wherever. Like you'll see going over the Tobin Bridge, sometimes there's ARC, which is ARC. That'll be like a U.S. There's a few U.S. car carriers, but sometimes you'll see like a foreign flag car carrier coming in there. They'll dump off whatever cars. The salt ships down there, or like all of our salt, or a lot of our salt, right there in Portsmouth, right? They come dump salt right on the dock and
where does that come from?
I don't know, some salt mine somewhere. Like it's really strange where the products that are carried, things that you would never think of, the oddest things.
Yeah, well,
you know,
salt's one of them, bro.
Yeah, that make the world go around. Yeah. You know, there's so many, like Tampa, there's all sorts of like phosphates that they use for fertilizer and stuff like that. Another one too is I think 2 or 3, they're foreign flag vessels. They're merchant marines, right? Anyone that works on a big ship like that, or anyone that works on, a vessel with the minimum horsepower or length, you know, is crewed by a merchant marine. They just they're not licensed by the Coast Guard. You know, they're licensed by whatever flag state or regulation they have in whatever country that ship is flying, whatever flag that ship is flying. So in Tampa, there's 3 ships, 2 or 3. They carry orange juice into Tampa.
Shut the fuck up.
Yep.
Orange juice gets shipped into Florida, huh?
Yep.
Why? Because Florida just can't keep up with it?
I'm not sure, but it's strange. I mean, it's white and orange. They stop. There's 3 stops, Central America, the islands, or something that they do. And they come ashore, and then they must blend it up with however many Florida oranges it takes to be Florida orange juice. But they're right where we go,
and they meet that need.
Yeah,
That's
So there's
hilarious.
a lot of odd things that we do. A lot of odd people. We're odd people, fringe people. But you know, I'm hoping that we can, you know, bring some. It doesn't have to be that way,
right?
You know, and if you want to be one of us, you can. You know, we'll get you out there, get you working, make some money, have some fun. It won't all be great, but I'm hoping that it'll, you know, like you can be in, you know, you can make the job into, you know, it doesn't have to be a bad experience, you know.
Right. Well, and that's with any experience and any job.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy. Threw me off with the oranges.
Yeah. Yeah. It's strange. There's all sorts of weird stuff that goes in and out of these ports, you know.
Yeah. What about so the ships that are going overseas and stuff are coming from overseas. They are followed up by the Marines, you said?
So like the right now, the Red Sea. Yeah, they'll be, or the thing about the Marines was during World War II.
Oh, right.
The only 2 people, or I think the Marines were killed at a higher rate than the merchant marines. They were the next on the grand scale of death, I guess.
I found that interesting that, you guys aren't, considered military, but in military or wartime, they just
We're
throw
there.
you guys in the loop.
That's why, and that's going back to World War II, right? There was a huge need for seaborne cargo to be moved, you know, and that was kind of a wake-up call for this country, you know, and they have all sorts of civilian, they're crewed by civilians, but they're available to the military to help support a huge operation, right?
Right.
I mean, unless something's going to happen on our shores, right? It's going to happen somewhere else, and they're going to need a lot of supplies and a lot of equipment, tanks, whatever, and that
And a lot of big boats.
Yeah, and they need people, and that's another thing that is kind of why I feel hopeful about the industry is that people are realizing now there's another act or law that's going to be written or is in writing but needs to be signed or something like called the Ships Act, and it's an acronym for something I would butcher it if I tried to say it, but part of that is getting our shipyards up to snuff, having them crewed with the labor that needs, because you can't take a naval ship to China and have them start working. Every ship needs repairs.
Yeah.
And so our domestic fleet, the military, getting our shipyards up to snuff, getting the maritime academies what they need to that's why the maritime academy started. Was World War II needed merchant marines to move all these supplies from here to there.
Right.
So,
and the quickest way to do that was not to give them military training, but teach them how to fix and
just
manage.
That's how, Maine Maritime, I think, started in the 40s or 50s, early 40s and the 50s. And it was just a factory to just get them pumped out and get them, trained enough to where they could work on these vessels and get them from A to B. And then there's a whole security component to that, where if our U.S. flag fleet is depleting, right, or if it continues to deplete, how are we going to be able to respond if something like that happens again?
Right.
There was this big ready reserve force, so there's a fleet of vessels that were built to support that type of operation, to move government cargo when the government needed it. And those ships are all aging and not functioning the way they're supposed to. The systems on them are old, you can't get parts anymore. So part of that act is to help modernize kind of the ready reserve force for our civilian military, or I don't want to say civilian military, but for the ready reserve force to help support an operation like that. So I think people are realizing that we can't continue to let the industry go in the direction it's been going. So that's why I'm also kind of hopeful that we'll start to see some new people, and I want to help prove to people that this job doesn't have to suck. That there are challenges, but there's also, there's gratification, and you're doing something that not everybody knows about or can do, and whether you do it for 5 years, 10 years, or your whole life, the only way to know is if you try.
Right.
So
yeah, and it seems like there just needs to be some awareness, some information spread about the merchant marines.
Yeah.
Because this area, right, we're known for, fishermen and boats. The Northeast is just known for that.
Exactly.
And to be, have grown up in New Hampshire and, been into Maine a million times, and to not even know that there's, that school up there, and that there's a need for it, and what you guys are even doing, and what you do.
And the Maine state flag, I don't know how well you know the Maine state flag, but it's the two people that are on there are a farmer and a mariner.
No way.
Yeah. So
Interesting.
it's it's there, and it always has been there. And I'm kind of hoping that it'll be kind of like a scratch and sniff. We kind of like start scratching back at the industry, and people start coming.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Hey,
that's out
there's a way to make money.
Yeah.
If I can sacrifice 6 weeks or 60 days or whatever your tour might be, I can. So that's like the biggest thing for me to kind of make the jump ashore, right? I'm leaving behind this like pretty much guaranteed revenue stream, probably would take a pay cut to come ashore, and then also, having a job, or what am I going to be doing that might sacrifice my time even more?
Right.
I've never had a job where I've had to commute. Imagine if you could do your job but eliminate the driving aspect of it.
Yeah.
I've never dealt with traffic.
Fucking sweet. How do you get down to Louisiana?
That's just when I graduated. That's just where the ship. I fly. Yeah, they fly us down there. Whatever. So that's another. It's like usually that's the hardest part, right? Is getting to the vessel and from the vessel.
Right.
And imagine any trade. Pick any trade, right? Imagine you just you're building a house or whatever, and you set up shop there, you live there, your workers live there, your food's there, and you build that house for 6 weeks at a time, and then when your 6 weeks is up, you go home.
Yeah, that's fucking cool, man.
So I don't know. That's the way I kind of like polish it up a little bit. I don't know if I'm polishing a turd, but I
don't think so, man. I mean, you got me sold.
Yeah, and if I could, at least get somebody to see it that way, to at least come get curious, and like I said, it's not. It's a tough. The industry is not modern. It's not used to change as fast as it needs to. It's typically the industry is about, like, from a technology standpoint, we're like 10 years behind. We just got Wi-Fi on board like 2 years ago.
Jesus.
So yeah, that's a big component, especially for younger people. You got to be connected, and COVID really messed up a lot of seafarers, especially like the foreign flag fleet. Like, they just pretty much got forgotten about. No, it's easy to forget about that there are people out there. We're at the end of a very long sword, and we're at the pointy end, and it's easy to get forgotten, like I said, forgotten about, and but there are people out there, and there are people at the end of those decisions that are made, either by a ship owner or the company we're working for, and I'm kind of hoping that the position I'm in, I can, provide a barrier so people don't feel like they're lost or forgotten about, or that, because we are still people out there, and it's like I said, nobody knows who we are,
right?
But we're there.
What does the school do as far as like recruitment and stuff?
That's probably something they could probably have their own podcast on that one, because it needs to be modernized. It needs to be, why don't people know about that? What can they do to appeal to, high school, because I wouldn't have really known about it unless my friend told me about it. It's not like the school I went to wasn't really like a, they're almost like there's sometimes, like, I don't know, different high schools maybe funnel towards different schools or whatever, but there's not, there's not really a, it was one of the three people. It was the three of us that went there,
Right.
So I'm not, and that's one of the things I want to talk to the school about, like, because look, I'm here. I've been here for 14 years. I can help. Provide the school with maybe what the industry needs, or like give that, kind of be the middleman for them to kind of curtail their recruitment. I don't know if like Whittier Tech knows anything about Maine Maritime or Mass Maritime or any maritime. I know they have there might be a boat component to Whittier Tech, but I think maybe that's somewhere that might be sound like an untapped market, I guess, of talent,
Right.
And
Well, that would be that would be your best bet, right? The tech and the trade schools, because like, those are all the kids that aren't going to college, that they don't want to go sit 4 years and get a fucking degree in accounting. You know what I mean? Like, That's what the trades are good for.
Yeah.
And I feel like with what you guys do, like that's a very blue collar business.
Yeah.
You know?
And we don't have, we don't. I always wonder if is it blue collar? Is it a trade?
I'd call it blue collar, man.
Yeah.
It's a fucking dope ass trade,
Yeah.
I think. Like that's fucking cool.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you're an engineer and you're kind of like a boat mechanic, but like you have this whole other like prestige with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's I don't know. I
It's
feel
not
like
glorious. Nobody knows what you do at the end of the day. At the end,
Right.
when I come home, I'm just a guy that drives his kids to school,
Right.
And I cook dinner, you know. So it's like, I'm not going to be like poster boy, have a big bunch of fame or whatever like that. But you can build a life, a secure life, a very secure life.
well, and that's the thing. I think a lot of these kids that don't know what they want to do for the living and don't want to go to college are afraid of that insecurity of what they're going to do or not do. You know
And
what
then,
I mean?
you talk about like with kind of the or like there's such an untapped market for trades, right? Or like there's such a need for trades, right? So people that kind of like me were on the fringe between college or military or whatever, it's a path that you can, still get a degree and you can work, and you can get a job and get some experience, right out of the gate. You do your 4 years, you're going to get a job, if you want it, So I'm hoping, kind of with the whole re-emphasis on trades and the thirst for trades, I can get in on the thirst for some merchant marines.
Get in that loop.
Because we need them.
So what do you do any kind of recruitment yourself, or is there a position for that?
We'll see. Kind of at this new company that I'm working with, where it's like I said, they've kind of said all the right things and want to invest in us and invest in the boat. Will there be an opportunity for they do? So where the kind of I've dipped my toes in on this is the schools have career fairs, right, in the spring and the fall, right? They can only allow so many people at these things. So
I'm sorry, dude, but career fairs, like no kid wants to go to a fucking career fair.
I know, yeah.
Or
so
take
it's
it
like
serious.
but that was always something, but if that needs changing or something like, like how do you reach out to people that are 16 to 18 or like
fucking TikTok, bro?
Yeah, and honestly, that's a scary word for the merchant marine. Like I said, we just got Wi-Fi, like
yeah. Well, now that you got
texting
Wi-Fi,
and
should hook up a little fucking TikTok account and like make some videos about what you're doing over there. And like,
I see that. I see what you guys do, and it's like it does take effort. It's like that's like a whole other. Like I look at my phone and I like take a picture for my kids. I'm like, I'm
done.
yeah. Like,
dude, that shit's a full-time job in itself, man. Like,
I need somebody to follow me around that can focus on that. You know, I don't want to shy away from a challenge, but I would be in over my head for a little while.
So that's the job for the fucking walk-on seaman.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
You can be my TikTok specialist.
When you're done sweeping the floor, come record me real quick.
Yeah. So hopefully, the school's at a little bit of an inflection, at least maybe, an inflection point, like, recruiting wise, and who do they recruit and how, and there's so many dynamics. Things aren't as simple. I don't know if they were ever simple, but it's just there's a lot of dynamics. There's a lot of different challenges that are out there in the world, and whether it's school, recruiting, companies, career fair, whatever it is, it's like that's kind of why I wanted to come on the podcast a little bit, is just so I can maybe dip my toe into something like this where you can at least put like a voice out there that like, hey, we're out there, we can. It doesn't have to be bad. Like you can do this job and have a family, and have success and make some money, right? That's at the end of the day, it's what we all want to do,
And you can use it as a stepping stone to do your own thing, or you can use it as a career.
It's a great way to, because you can, like I said, you can count on the check rolling in for as long as you're out there, and whether it's to buy an excavator or truck or whatever, it's you can pretty much, hey, I'll go work 60 days, and then that's what I did. That was everyone's thing. When you graduate Maine Maritime, right? I drove a 1993 Grand Am up and down the coast for 4 years, and by the end, I had to put air in the tires every 2. I was barely making it home 4 hours on my right rear tire, and my muffler was dragging and everything like that. And then I got home, parked the thing, went and joined the ship. And it was like 60 or 90 days later. At the time, it was a brand new truck. I graduated in 2010. My truck I bought was a 2009. So brand new shiny truck. And I knew I'd made I pulled up to my buddy's house, and his dad was in the parking lot, and he goes, "What is that, a graduation present?" And I was like, "No, that's 90 days at sea." That was like my, oh, yeah.
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 Yeah. So I still have that truck. It's an old piece of shit now, but
Yeah. Yeah, I drive an old piece of shit. So
yeah,
I get it.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's fucking awesome, man.
Yeah.
I do think that, like, if you were able or someone was able to spread the word about what you guys do, how you do it, what that looks like I feel like, that's something that I think could be appealing to a lot of kids, man.
Yeah. And like you said, like kids now, or like at least they say, right? Like, oh, maybe college, I don't need to do that, or I can just go and start working for a little while and get some money or some experience, while I try to decide because, yeah, I mean, I don't know what college costs now. And I'm sure Maine Maritime at the time was a cheaper option than a lot of stuff. I don't know what it costs now, but,
Do they offer scholarship and stuff?
Yeah, yeah, they have
like
scholarships and yeah, all that. Yeah, yeah. So that's definitely available. And the Kings Point, which is kind of like the Naval Academy, but for Merchant Marine a little bit. Again, I say Naval Academy. That's kind of like saying Kings Point is like a Naval Academy is a little bit of an embarrassment to the Naval Academy, but it's a federal, school. So there is you have to work in the industry for a certain amount of time. I don't remember what the actual time is. Another option that some kids did in order to offset, I went to school with a lot of lobstermen, and those kids work, some gritty people,
Yeah, for sure.
And they worked, and but it's not like they had a whole lot of money to afford a school. But what a lot of guys did was you could join the it's like MMR, it's like Merchant Marine Reserves. So they'll give you money for school, but again, you just got to work in the industry for a certain amount of time afterwards to kind of like you pay your dues after the fact. So
yeah,
there's options out there to do it. And as an alternative to college, it's a great alternative to college, and then if you want to just join the industry as like the OS or whatever, that's a great way to collect some money while you kind of evaluate what it is you want to do next.
Yeah. And you could start off as an OS and then fucking go to school.
Yeah, yep. You can
jump
start,
the line.
yeah, and there'll be a lot of guys. Some guys were like in the Coast Guard prior or whatever, so they had prior experience, and that's why after I realized that whole RPT thing, that like Hell Week thing or whatever that they put us through, like a month later you realize it was just like when you become a sophomore, you can become they called them MTOs, like midshipman training officer or something like that. So once you're a sophomore, you could go back and like train the incoming guys. So all it was a bunch of sophomores that wanted to get back at the kids that they had a bad experience with or whatever.
All the kids that got C's in school.
Yeah. So,
all the kids that got bullied.
Yeah. So I mean, if you want to go there and become like a fake gunnery sergeant or whatever, like the what's that Gomer Pyle, whatever that movie was there. I can't remember the name of the movie there, but is you could suck a golf ball through a garden hose, that type stuff, whatever that. I can't remember
Drill
that movie.
sergeant.
Yeah, drill sergeant. Yeah,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What so you can be in it forever. You can retire as a merchant marine.
Mm-hmm.
You said you're union?
So I'm in a union. Yeah, I'm in the American Maritime Officers Union, which is they are the largest union of licensed officers. So there's a couple different unions out there. This one is just for third mates and higher, or third engineers and higher, or whatever. They're based down in Dania Beach, Florida. So they have a school down there, and they can help get you upgraded. Once you get your third mates and you join that union, you can go down there. You can do like every 5 years, I got to go down there and do like a basic safety refresher or whatever. So you learn how to you got to jump off the diving board with your life jacket on, and they make sure you can swim and do some firefighting stuff like that or whatever. So do that down there. And then all my benefits like 401k and stuff like that is all through the union, so they're a resource again for like recruiting. Like nobody's immune to that lack of incoming talent, so they're navigating that as well. And what are they doing to get people to join their union or join the Merchant Marine in general? But
do you have to go to school first to join the union? Like you said, yours is.
So so if you were to start as an OS and you wanted to join a union, you'd probably join SIU, which is like Seafarers International Union. They're based down in Maryland, and they'll help. They again have like a school. They can put you through like a little bit of training or whatever to get you all the documents and certifications you need, and they'll get you placed in a job, and you can kind of work your way up through the union, and you kind of work your way up from OS to AB, or like in the engine room side, like the next step below, the next rank below a licensed officer, below third engineer is QMed. So it's like QMed is a qualified member of the engine department, and they're kind of like, they kind of know a little bit about everything, again, like boots on the ground type person in the trenches. They can get you out of a good QMed can help get you out of a lot of jams, so yeah, you could join the union and work your way up that way, again, with seat time, and you kind of maybe go back to school a little bit, do some other couple trainings or certifications, and make your way up.
Work your way up.
Yeah.
Is there private companies that aren't union?
There are private companies that are non-union. Yeah, a lot of them that first come to mind are like the offshore supply vessels that are down in the Gulf, and they probably have some sort of like in-house way of like assisting you through what you need. They might like as a group do some classes, or like they can send you like. There's a lot more resources down in the Gulf just because that kind of stuff is more prevalent down there.
Right.
So like Houston has a lot. Like I said, like Fort Lauderdale has a lot for like any sort of like refresher courses or classes you may need either to maintain your license or upgrade. But there are private companies. Yep.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's like anything else. Union has all the bennies and all the stuff, and a little protection.
Yeah. So I mean, I never considered myself like a big union guy. Like a lot of my friends were like, "F the union." They were never like that. Makes them want to throw up when you say union in front of them and stuff, But I mean, I just joined it because that's what I had to do to work,
Yep.
And like, I may not have the highest paying job, or I don't have the lowest paying job. It's like, it kind of like it's met my most medium require. I'm not all the way up there, but maybe like right here. And I'm fine with 85 to 90%. You know, I don't want to be always searching for that, because you can be a mercenary, know, and you can just go to the next. And people do that. A lot of people do that.
Yeah. Whoever's offering more money, better benefits.
You just bounce around. But I never really did that. I always just kind of, like I said, I've worked for this one company. For 14 years, and it's, I mean, I've never wanted to jeopardize what I think I do have for something I might not get, so I've always just kind of said, this is fine. I mean, could it be better? Yeah, maybe I can make it better though. Now I'm maybe in a position where I can help lead the charge and, give us what we need, give the people I work with what we need, and kind of be a voice for, making the industry better or less sucky.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So same type of like benefits and stuff like that with union?
Yeah. Yeah. So they depend. Yeah. Yeah. It'll be either you can have a pension. One of the unions still has a pension. Mine's like right now I have 401k and like a defined contribution. So I contribute like any 401k, you contribute part of your paycheck. And then the defined contribution component of it is like, I don't contribute to it, but the company does. So based on my years of service in the union, like depending on how many years you've worked in the union, your percentage of that contribution will go up. So right now I think I'm at like 12% or something like that. 12% of my paycheck goes to, or not 20% of my paycheck, the company pays 12% of my day rate towards that defined contribution. So the union kind of structure, like way to try to help people get in the union and stay in the union was like after 10 years, that percentage really takes a jump.
Yeah.
So they try to get people to, when they do join, say, hey, look, like
Dangle
after
the
10,
carrot.
yeah, we'll get you a little more towards your defined, I don't know what the landscape, I hope to retire someday. I'm hoping I'm doing everything right,
Yeah.
but it's a long way from now, which is, it's a little bit depressing, but everyone does it, right?
At least you know you got money going in an account, though.
It comes and it goes. It comes and it goes, especially with kids and house and everything the way it is. It's just out in one pocket, out the other.
Yeah, truth.
Yeah.
Truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool, man. All right, we got into a lot. Let's get into fucking toolbox tips.
Yeah.
So toolbox tips is just, advice that you would give to yourself 20 years ago. Somebody that's looking to get into the merchant marines. I mean, I feel like we talked a lot about that stuff.
Yeah.
Or even somebody that's looking to get into the trades or, whatever that looks like, advice that you'd give yourself, 20 years ago before I get into it. If you're listening to the podcast and you are liking what we're talking about, if you're taking anything away from this, like and subscribe, share it with your friends. Only way we keep this thing going. So I guess just practical advice you'd give to yourself 20 years ago, man.
So, and I thought about it. So, I wrote down, find something that maybe not a lot of people are doing or not a lot of people want to do, and do that, because you'll find a lot of work and hopefully you can make some money from it, like kind of this job is maybe not the most desirable job or the most glorious job, but you can find success in it, and, you take ownership of it and you can make it what you want, you know? And for me, and kind of a underlying theme that kind of kept me going, going through school and early on when I started, it was just, kind of ignore the noise. And, if your intentions are, one of those books I read was, the one thing I remember from it was, if they were going to put what you're doing on a newspaper headline, would you be comfortable with what the headline reads? And kind of when I was coming up through the industry, it's like I kind of like felt, I kind of applied that logic where it's like, look, hey, Josh DeVos, tried to repair a piece of equipment but failed miserably, Yeah. It's like I tried, my intentions are in the best spot, you stay with it and, keep going. But, and it's gotten to me where I am, so I don't feel bad about that, and it's, I'm like I said, hoping to get this, the word out there and let people know that, it can be a good job out there.
Yeah.
So,
Now, you're on social media, you're on Instagram?
I'm not. No Instagram. I have a Facebook, but it's more of like a watch and look type thing. It's all ads or whatever. But maybe I should, if that's the way of the world.
I feel like you got to hop on Instagram.
Yeah.
Do a Josh DeVos fucking Merchant Marine Instagram page.
Yeah. Yeah.
And make the shit cool, man.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the big thing. And if you want to reach those people and recruitment and generating awareness, this is what I fucking do every day.
Yeah.
Like that kid Leon that you were talking about, the plumber.
I know. That sounds amazing.
Dude, if you watch some of his content, I'm fucking blown away.
Yeah.
I'm like, you do this, like his job is not pretty. You know what I mean? Like cleaning out exchanging pipes or cutting out pipe or putting new pipe in a fucking basement, dingy ass basement is not like a pretty thing. Yeah. But he makes it pretty fucking cool on Instagram. And I feel like, there's like, of course my like marketing creative mind goes crazy thinking about the stuff that I would do with like the content that you could create. Like, I feel like you could do some pretty cool shit, man. Get the word out there. And that's the big thing is people don't want to, it's a lot of work, man. I get it. Yeah. Like, what I do now, I don't do nearly as much as I should, but I'm always just taking pictures or like making videos or whatever. Yeah. And I don't post them or edit them. You know, I probably post and edit maybe 5% of the shit that I do. Yeah. But like every now and then it's just like, oh, this will be cool. And then, just throw it up there, and just to get the awareness that, this is what we're doing. And if we're not doing our job, like a lot of the shit that you live with every day is not going to be there, and like, that's what I do. That's what I take pride in, and I just feel like if you could share that type of stuff and if more people shared that type of stuff, it would just generate so much more awareness and people would know much more about it. And like, it doesn't have to be like, begging for fucking attention. Right. Yeah. Like I'm the most, just like, head in the sand kind of person. I don't like sharing my shit. I fucking hate it. And I'm not looking for fucking cookies. I don't want likes and comments. Dude, most of the time I post shit and I don't even go back to look. Yeah. You know what I mean? But I know with engagement, I have to like all of it. I have to comment. Luckily, John has some AI shit set up that fucking,
I just need AI for mine.
But, I don't like the attention. Yeah. But I do love sharing the story. Yeah. And just because like people need to hear it, man. Yeah. There's so much bullshit out there. There's so much just garbage. Yeah. And people putting all this fake shit up where it's all fucking ponies and rainbows. Yeah. Like, it ain't that fucking way, man. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like people need to share some of the real stuff. Yeah. And like, I just think it could do wonders for a lot of things. I think it could do wonders for the trades, and I think it could do wonders for, what you're doing. Yeah. And I'm going to fucking put you in the trades blue collar category. I made it.
If I got anything from this thing, I made it now.
I think you're there, man. Yeah. Not something I would have ever considered, but like that's what's cool about this podcast is that like I get to meet cool people like you and hear about like cool shit that I never knew about, and now I can.
It's out there.
I have a podcast, so I can categorize that shit how I want. So you're now blue collar, my friend.
Good, awesome. I made it.
You're not sitting at a desk. You know what I mean?
That's been waiting 14 years, maybe longer.
Yeah, man, for sure. Yeah. I don't know, man. That's my take on it.
Perfect.
But yeah, it was fucking great meeting you, man.
Yeah. It's been an inspiration meeting you too, and I hope I know you do this at a deficit or whatever, but. I mean, I'm only one person, but it's been awesome seeing, the people you've brought on here, and kind of like I told you earlier, like I found every one of your guests is like, man, that person's got something to say, or like I'd love to work with that person, you know. So I don't know, maybe I can leave some Merchant Marine flyers, and you can pick some of your guests, get them out there, But it's I appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. It was nice meeting you.
Yeah.
All right, thanks for listening, everybody.